Hey, chums, welcome back to a Game with Chums podcast. I am your host for today, Paulus, the wonderful Paulie C, Paulie D, Paulie Triple D, Big Dick Paulus. Yeah, it's me. But as you can see, my normal collaborator, the glorious, stupendous Mr. Rawls is not here today because he apparently has a life and now he's too big and too important to do the podcast. So I roped in a special guest. We've had her on once before. She was talking about archaeology and gaming, and yeah, she's back here for to save the day. And yeah, would you like to introduce yourself and to the fine people?
Yeah, my name's Frankie. I'm Paul's sister, and I'm an archaeologist. I work as an archaeologist as well.
Okay, very short and sweet. Yeah, man. So normally we will talk about like how you've been, what you've been up to, what you've been playing. So learn what you've been up to, what have you been doing? If you've been playing anything, let us know.
To be honest, I haven't been playing anything. I haven't had the time. I've been too busy with work and trying to get back into fitness. So yeah, unfortunately, I haven't had any time to play any video games. But hopefully that will change. Yeah.
Anything else you've been up to, like in your day-to-day life? Like have you done anything in particular interest? Have you gone anywhere? Have you done?
Yeah, I've just come back from 2 weeks ago. I've just come back from Pompeii where I was doing an excavation.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I was working on the Aplantis site with the University of Texas, and we were digging at Villa B, which which is really interesting. I won't get too much into the details, but it was a distribution center, so we think, and some bodies were found there in the 90s.
You sure it wasn't like mafia hits? Like you just found like bodies from like mafia.
I mean, they were disintegrated by a volcano, so I think we're safe to say that they were from the Roman period.
Cool. Yeah. Man, interesting. Well, normally Mr. Royals will ask me what I've been up to. So I've been it was my birthday. I won't say how old I am because I'm old as fuck now. But yeah, I've had like a 2-week celebration, haven't we? Like really, like just going to restaurants, going to Windsor. We went to the brewery in Windsor.
Called, I don't think we were doing anything too cultural in Windsor.
I mean, it's cultural. Like it is cultural. Like Windsor and Eton Brewery. We learned a lot about that, and it was a really good tour. Then we went and got some Korean food, which
it was so good.
Delicious.
Yeah. What was the restaurant called?
K Kitchen in Windsor. It was right in the town centre. It was really good. I mean, they messed up our order a couple of times, but they were pretty friendly and they sorted it out pretty quick. But yeah, it was really good, man. And then before that, I actually like on the weekend before that, I went to see the Rolling Stones in Hyde Park. And Hyde Park have been hosting a lot of bands recently, and it was really good. It was like a really good festival feeling there. I've never been to a outdoor concert where it was so well organized. It was easy to get in and out, to get into the venue, then to leave. Plenty of toilets, plenty of food and drink, plenty of alternative entertainment. It was really good. I really rated it. But yeah, I've been doing that, man. And then the other day I went out again for more drinks for my B-day. But enough about me. We're here to talk about video games. So this is a video game podcast, I believe. So we're going to talk about this particular subject and a particular game franchise that I think we're safe to say we're really big fans of. So it got recently, well, not recently, it's been announced that there'll be a Dragon Age 4. And the details have been a bit light at the moment. There's not been much, no trailers, only one teaser trailer. But we just want to talk about our history with the game, with the franchise, and what we're hoping for in the next installment. I'm pretty sure it is set in Tevinter, so that'll be a new location away from like Ferelden and Orlais and the Three Marches. It's going to be. They've always talked about the Tevinter. Pretty much, the Tevinter Imperium is the Roman Empire of that particular universe. So it's going to be interesting to see that particular part of Thedas. But yeah, man, like let me ask you, man, like how would you if you were to rate each game from your favorite to your least, how would you do it?
That's such an easy question. It's definitely Origins is number one. That felt like in its purest form an RPG. And then number 3 would be Inquisition.
Number 2, you mean? Well, how you doing it because you went number 3?
Oh, sorry, because so number 2 would be Inquisition, which is Dragon Age 3. And then number 3 would be Dragon Age 2.
Yeah. I thought you'd say that. I'm going to be a bit controversial. I'm going to say Origins first, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition 3. I really think Dragon. I recently done a playthrough of it on the Twitch channel, and I really liked it. I've forgotten how good it is. I mean, I liked Inquisition when I first played it. I thought it was really good, but I haven't gone back to play it again, and there's a reason for that because it's so fucking long. I'm just like, I can't. It's like you can be like 100 hours long. I'm just like, man, really...
But a lot of it is not like. What's the great thing about the Dragon Age series is the story and the narrative and the characters, but a lot of Inquisition was a lot of fetch quests, and a lot of like open, like it wasn't open world, but there was like places zones. Which you come massive zones where it was slightly homogenous and slightly repetitive, and I think that kind of puts people off playing it again because you just think like of the Hitherlands and you're just like, oh, I just don't think I have the energy to do it. And I think as a completist anyway myself, it's like I can't just start a game and just do the story. I have to at least get 95% completion to really feel like I played the game.
I mean
I can see why though. Sorry.
I mean, like Dragon Age 2 gets a lot of bad rap because it's reused areas and it's really sort of samey, but I quite like the story was ambitious, and it's a shame that it didn't have more time to sort of like bake in the oven, so to speak, because I think it got rushed out, and I don't think it was given a really fair shake of the stick, if that's the correct way to say it. But like I think like having a character be in one area for like a span of 8 years or something like that to show the development of their life is pretty interesting. And there were some interesting ideas in Dragon Age 2, which sadly wasn't really well executed. But yeah, like tell me like why if we were to say like characters like out of all 3 franchises, if you on the top of your head, could you rank like your top 5 or top 6 if you could?
Oh my god, that's really hard because that's because essentially Dragon Age is its characters. I could say which ones I didn't like quite easily, but it's like the ones that I did like, I kind of like them all for different reasons. But I think I'll break it down and talk about Origins first because it's the one I feel more connected to, but not necessarily, it's not like got my favorite character in it. But I definitely would say, because I know I'm going to miss somebody out, and it's going to be
well, like just your top 6. You don't have to rank every character.
Oh yeah, but I guess Alistair in Dragon Age Origins is my favorite.
Are you going to do like game by game or all together?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take 2 from each game because I think it'll be fair. So I really like so I really like Alistair from because he's actually, there's a lot of comic relief with him, which is not so. It's more kind of you're laughing at him as opposed to with him, even when he makes these jokes. And I really love Morrigan. I cosplayed Morrigan when the first came out. So those are my two from Origins, and I really love Ogbren as well. So shout out to him. Special kind of mention. And then I would say Dragon Age 2. It's hard with Dragon Age 2 because actually there's not many characters that I really like. Possibly Fenris to an extent if you're not playing mage. And then, oh gosh, I can't stand.
What about?
I'm just thinking.
What about the narrator? What's his name?
Varric. I kind of think he's a bit overrated, personally. Wow. Yeah, I know.
Holy shit.
I kind of feel like he's a character that is solemnly like he's only there to kind of help the main character, like the protagonist. He doesn't really have, apart from like the Bianca side story and his brother, like he doesn't really have any defining character like story. He has a great personality, but I just didn't like, he's like the last person I would bring with me on on quests, but maybe because I normally play what's the word,
rogue.
Not rogue, that's the one. Yeah. So I normally play rogue, so he's probably the least one that I'll take with me, but I think I love Fenris, and I love gosh, this is hard because I've almost forgotten who. Oh, I love
that's the whole point. That's the point, I think, because if you can't remember them, they're not really memorable characters. As I could give you a list of my top Mass Effect characters in order, because I remember even the ones I disliked, I remember them.
Yeah,
because I think like Mass Effect had better characters than Dragon Age in certain.
Absolutely.
I prefer Dragon Age. I prefer Dragon Age games to Mass Effect, but I prefer the characters of Mass Effect over Dragon Age. But that's exactly how I feel it. I'm actually just looking up the characters just so I can remember which ones were in that game. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't a massive fan of like Varric. I know he's like a fan favorite, but he's just not my. In Dragon Age 2, you had Meryl, you had Isabella, you had Anders, I didn't like him. You had Anders.
Hated Anders.
You had Aveline.
Aveline! Yeah. I love Aveline. Yeah,
I really like Aveline. She's one of my best top characters. I'm just ashamed they didn't bring her back in 3.
I think Aveline, I know she gets a bit of a rep for people say she's a bit boring, but she's actually really funny when you like the banter she has with well, I mostly play female Hawk is like quite it's like one of my favorite moments in the games when you go to an office.
I do like the fact that you could get her promoted to captain and you can get her married as well for find her husband.
Yeah. I'd also really like Bethany as well. What
was the brother's name?
Carver.
Oh, fucking! I couldn't stand Carver.
I couldn't stand him. There's too much competitiveness, which makes for a good character, but doesn't make for a very likable character.
No, he was so whingy.
Yeah.
I remember when I played as a mage, and he was just so whingy. I was just like, oh god, why Bethany's so much nicer than there's not a rivalry there with Bethany than there is with Carver. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's more of a sibling kind of, I guess it is a type of sibling relationship when you have that competitiveness, but I just prefer the kind of like more supportive sibling. So it always I used to always play mage, but now I always play rogue, so I always get Bethany. I'm boring. I always play as a warrior.
I
always play as a warrior. I don't know why. Always seem to, as I'm always in that D&D mode, a Dungeon Dragon mode, where I'm a big strong warrior. I always like that. I never really got into the mage thing, but
I think the mage storyline, sorry not to cut you off, but is when you play mage, you get just such a better storyline because you know, in Dragon Age Origins and well, not so much Origins, but I would say definitely Dragon Age 2, you're like right in the center of it because
I never got that wrong with Hawk being a mage, because in Kirkwall they're so strict with mages, and you're a mage and you're going around like talking to the Knight Commander, and you're like an apostate, and how come they haven't arrested you and put you in the circle?
Yeah, no,
it's never got
it's
that.
a bit of a
yeah, it's just like you shouldn't really take him away. There's never a moment where you're like you're in danger of being like taken to the circle.
I think there's a huge plot hole there. I think it's just a bit not. I mean, and when I say it's not realistic, I mean it's not realistic within that world. So yeah, it didn't quite make sense, and that's why I think I didn't like Dragon Age 2, because there was quite a few inconsistencies. And I just didn't like the kind of world that was created and how you interacted with that world. It didn't make sense a lot of the time, especially I
mean, like I do like the world of Dragon Age. I mean, I even got the compendium, the world of Thedas part 1 and 2. You got my part 1 there somewhere. You're hidden it in your room, so you've kept it took it
all in that. Yeah. But going on to Inquisition, I think there's more likable characters, and the characters do stand out more than Dragon Age 2.
I can't stand. What's the elf archer's name? The female one.
Oh, Sarah.
Sarah, yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah, I don't like Sarah. She was my least likable character.
Yeah.
She was a bit annoying.
Out of the whole series, I have to admit.
Yeah, I could have done without Sarah.
I love Dorian.
He's the Tevinter mage, right?
Yeah, he's just so hilarious. I think I really connect with funny people who use humor to kind of break a serious moment, which he's quite good at. And of course, I like Cullen as a romantic interest, but he has a really good plot as well. But as somebody who's
he's a former Templar.
Yeah,
Cullen. So he's in all 3 games at the moment, isn't he? He's one of the few characters that's appeared in all 3. He was a Templar for the Circle of Magi in Origins, and he was also a Templar for the Circle of Magi in Kirkwall. Then he left in 3. He's left the order and joined the Inquisition. I think his main story is his withdrawal from lyrium. Because if you don't take lyrium for a while, it's like a drug, isn't it? You start having withdrawals and having it's a detrimental effect. He's an interesting character.
He's interesting, and I think there's more interesting characters in Inquisition in comparison to.
Can I ask you something, right?
Yeah.
Out of all 3 games, which would you say had the most compelling and interesting story?
One. Yeah.
What
and I know it's
Grey Warden.
Well, I wouldn't say. I mean, it's not like exactly it's not groundbreaking story, is it? It's like, hey, you're chosen to fight the big bad, essentially. But it's such a simplistic storyline, and in a way that it's like, you know what the end goal is. You know, but you've got also this fantastic political background game who's, who kind of portrayed as king because he didn't want, he didn't want to lose his, his army. And I just think that there's the main storyline in Dragon Age tend to be not the most interesting thing, but it's all the stuff that's going on in the background. And that's the same with Dragon Age 2, with the whole kind of the mage versus.
I mean, it was a build up to the Mage Rebellion, wasn't it? And it kind of plays into Inquisition. That's not the main story. The mages versus Templar. That kind of is for a bit, and then it sort of gets swept under the rug. Sorry, carry on. What do you want to say?
No, I was just going to say, with
because you always seem to want to say something, can't?
It's just the Inquisition. The main bad is not.
That's what I'm saying.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it was what was his name?
Corinthius.
That's right. He was introduced in the DLC of Dragon Age 2. Was it Legend, or what was the DLC where he's introduced? Do you remember that? Legacy. You never played that, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't really.
Where you free him from the Grey Warden prison.
Yeah.
Your father, like Hawk's father, was the one. He was a Grey Warden who trapped. I think he was a Grey Warden. He was a mage, but he trapped not Dumart. What was his name again? What was the baddie's name again?
Corinthius.
They trapped him in there, and then you free him in there. So you're kind of responsible for bringing Corinthians into the world. Yeah, you should really play it, man. It's I mean, it's on your Xbox, so you should play it. It's about 2 hours, 3 hours long. It's pretty challenging though.
I mean, I've always I'm doing the whole saga again, and I just kind of stopped at Dragon Age 2 halfway through, just because life gets in the way, doesn't it? But
I played. Sorry, I did the reverse. I played Dragon Age 2 first on Twitch, on my Twitch account, again with Chums, twitch.tv/Twitch. Did that, and now I'm playing through Origins, and I've gotten to the part where the lands meet's coming up. So,
that's my favorite part.
I don't know if I'm going to do Inquisition, because, like I said, that's so fucking long. I'm just like, do I really? It's been like hours trying to like get through that game. But I don't know. Maybe I'll just do like a story campaign. But then, like you said, I kind of want to do everything else, and it doesn't really affect the overall story if you miss out like side stories and side quests. Because all right, let's talk about this, right? Like, what would you like in Inquisition? Would you say there was anything particularly disappointing about it? Because it had such a strong beginning, and the middle part was really powerful. I think when Corinthius attacks, was it Lotharing?
New Haven,
yeah. But then I think after that, it didn't seem to reach the same sort of heights as it did before. Sort of petered out.
I definitely think the pacing was kind of awkward, to say the least, in the third one, because it starts off really strong, and then you have the New Haven, and then you kind of get to the castle, and you're like, this is and you get to Skyhold, and you're just kind of like, oh right, this is amazing, and then like the castle doesn't really mean anything at the end, because you do all these upgrades, and that's the thing with that's one of my issues with Inquisition, is that it tells you have to do all these side quests because you need this and this and this for the like what you think is going to be the final battle, but it actually doesn't matter, and it kind of makes you feel a bit cheated, because you kind of think, well, if I didn't do that, then it like Corinthians still gets killed and nobody dies, because it's not like the Mass Effect 2 suicide mission, your choices don't really matter in Inquisition. And that's what I found really disappointing, because the choices you make throughout the game do not have any impact on the ending, apart from maybe like somebody's not in the party, and that's about it.
I agree. I think the ending seemed quite rushed. I don't know if the I kind of feel like they were the castle upgrades and the side quests that you do, like to improve the castle and you improve your army, was supposed to have an effect on the outcome. But the finale seems so rushed. It's like, oh, okay, Corinthians is here now. Let's go and fight him. It's just like, okay, is he gonna? And I was like, you're in Skyhold. The whole point of it was because it was like really defensible and it's high up in the mountain, but that doesn't matter at all. I don't know if have you ever played the big expansion of Dragon Age Origins Awakenings?
I did. Yeah.
Like they had a castle. You had that place in Amaranthi where you upgrade the castle. And that plays a role in the outcome of who dies, how, and who lives in that game. And I was thinking, oh shit, they're going to do it here in Inquisition, but it didn't happen. So it was kind of disappointing. I was like, okay, so the upgrades didn't. It was more cosmetic than actually having an effect on the outcome of the game, which I thought they missed a big opportunity to sort of have that, because I did think Corinthus was going to attack Skyhold itself, and you would have to defend it, and depending on what upgrades you did, certain amount of people would die, what characters would die. If you didn't do their side quest, they could die. But in the end, it didn't really matter. So, but okay, like this kind of ties into the fourth game. What are you expecting? What would you like in Dragon Age 4? What like from all the games you played, what are you hoping for in 4?
I don't know what I do know, but it's
I do know,
I don't know, but I do know.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're essentially dealing with a game that has to tie into 3 other games, and that makes it very limiting. Whereas Dragon Age Origins, you had 4 different like beginnings and origins. That's the whole point.
But it's kind of like with a first game, I can understand because it's the first game in the franchise.
Yeah,
and I didn't actually think they thought that it was going to be successful. Kind of like tied up all the loose ends quite well. It didn't really allow it. It didn't really allow for branching story paths, because like Dragon Age Origins was its self-contained story, and then 2 they had to come up with a completely new story. It didn't tie into the first game really, apart from you being refugees, which I thought was pretty clever. Inquisition tied into the second game, so that kind of flew in a bit more.
So that's what I'm saying. Like what I want from the 4th game is a little bit more of a kind of flexibility, whereas the last 2 games within the franchise, that the flexibility made Origins so replayable. So when you played Origins, you had the opportunity to play the world in 4 different, essentially, well, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 5 different ways, and have a different experience every time. Whereas in 2, okay, apart from being a bloke and being a woman, you know, there's not really much replayability.
Do you know what I think they try to do with number 2, especially with you being just playing as a human? They try to make. I know what you're going to say. They try to make Hawk Commander Shepard. Is that what you thought I was going to say?
Yeah.
They try to make that character their Commander Shepard of that franchise. Everyone loves Shepard.
But the issue.
Yeah.
But the issue is, it's like Mass Effect's its own thing. What made Origins and Dragon Age so great wasn't what makes Mass Effect great. Yeah, like it's not. It's not the same. It's like it's like, okay, they're done by BioWare. They're done by 2 very different teams. One is like, it's almost, apart from being an RPG, one's black and one's white. You know, it's incomparable. And the issue with number 2 was that they tried to fit, I don't know, put like brush on Mass Effect paint on it, but that's not why people loved the game or the franchise. They loved the game because you had all these different ways of being, and you just didn't get that in 2, and it made it not really that much fun to play again. So to answer your question, I want that flexibility back, but it makes it more difficult because you have so many sequels and you have so many different ways of people dying and people being in.
Would you prefer in Dragon Age 4 for them to do sort of like an origin sort of like story like they did in the first one, or would you prefer it like how they did in Inquisition, where you can choose your race but you all essentially have the same story?
Well, I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to retain the different races, so you're going to be able to play dwarf, elf, or whatever, but you're going to be like a Tevinter. Like, it looks like you're going to just, you know, have the same backstory, even though you're all completely different races.
If you're a Tevinter, you would probably play as a human, because they're quite racist in Tevinter apparently, you know. So I would see the character being either a slave or like someone brought in from other parts of Thedas, or as a representative of the, like, say, Ferelden or the Three Marches or Orlais. where you can choose your race, but you'll be representing that part of Thedas.
I think so. I would also like, because you do, I take that back. In Inquisition, you do have different backstories, but you don't get to see any of that backstory. Whereas in Origin, if you're like the nobility, you get to be run around your castle for a bit with your dog. If you're in a mage, you get to be in the tower.
I love that.
I love that. I love it. Every single Origin story, apart from, fortunately, the dwarf is kind of boring, but like everything, and every Origin story links to the main story somehow. So do you know what I mean? So like when you're dealing with the anchor, or when you're a dwarf, you're dealing with the mirror. When you're an elf, when you're a mage, you're dealing with you're dealing with something I can't remember. But you've got they entwine.
I mean, because with the mage one, I think it's like you're in the circle. And when you get to the circle in the main game, there's an uprising in the circle. So I think that ties into you being a mage as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my number one thing, is I don't think it's possible, but I would like to have that flexibility. So maybe you're in Tevinter, but you're playing as an elf slave or a servant. If you're a human, you might be actually part of the Tevinter Empire. If you're like, or if you're a dwarf, maybe you're smuggling something. I don't know, but I'd like to have that backstory.
I would like, if you were Canary, you would be a captured Canary. That sort of thing would tie in. There's many possibilities you can say. If you're a noble, you'll be. If you're a noble, like you could be like I say, like an ambassador to Tevinter from, like, say, Ferelden or something like that, which I would probably play as. But there's more possibilities, because Tevinter is like you can be play as a slave, captured soldier, an ambassador, or a Tevinter Imperium. If you're playing as a mage, you probably play as a magister, which I think will be quite interesting to see that dichotomy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's number one. How about yourself? What are you seeing?
It's interesting, because I really hope that they sort of not slim down the game, but get away with the fact, because I think Inquisition was a bit bloated. There was a lot of missions, but a lot of it was needless side quests and fetch quests. So I kind of want to see, like, have you played The Witcher 3?
Yeah.
See, everything sort of like doesn't feel unnecessary in that game. It's a big game, but all the side quests and all the side stories sort of fill the world out. It's not unnecessary. I kind of want that bit more, be a bit more focused, and not just have unnecessary side quests. So I don't mind an open world, even though I'm not really that into open worlds.
Nor am I.
I think, like, with Inquisition, they tried to be too much, but I didn't think work as well. So I kind of wish like there would be more narratively focused. Obviously, you have side quests and your character and your party side quests, but I kind of like want it to be a bit more slimmed down a bit.
I think the problem with the side quests, is, like you were saying with The Witcher 3, they feel unnecessary. With the Inquisition, did you not feel like, I felt like I was playing like World of Warcraft? It's like collect 10 of these things, or collect these scrolls, and get 10 bear skin, and it was just a bit unnecessary.
It definitely felt like that when you were in the hinterlands, when you're starting off.
Hitherlands,
Hitherlands, I was just like, please, can I get the hell out of it? And then I found out that you could actually just bypass that and come back to it later. So thank God I can just, because I was like in the mindset of I got to do all this to progress the story, but you can actually like, once you start there, you can be there for an hour or so, and then you can just be like, well, I'm buggering off, and then you can progress the story a bit more. Because I really like the parts where the story or something happened. I didn't really like the bit where I just had to go here, kill this, go there, fetch that, go there, get this. It just felt a bit like I kind of just want to get into the meat, because I really had the best times when it was actually story. But I did like discovery, because I thought some parts were really cool when you can just go down a cave and it would just be a massive dungeon. I thought that stuff was really good. but after a while, I was just like, oh god, please, can I just get into the story? And I kind of wish they focused more on the characters, because I feel like the characters' side stories wasn't as well done as, say, like, I think the side story, I think that your character, your party members, personal quests and side stories were better done in Dragon Age 2 than they were in Inquisition.
Well, I think arguably, Dragon Age 2 is, in terms of story and narrative, is a better game than Inquisition, because that's all they had to focus on was the story and the narrative, like, because they were so slimmed down in other aspects, because they didn't have to worry about this other kind of world building. It was more like, you're in the city, let's make sure, you know, the story is good. And I think that's why some people do prefer it, because it did have, chapter 2 was a bit like, with the Canary, I was a bit like, ugh. But I did quite like it with that. There was a lot of action, and there was a lot of like, suspense.
I have to respectfully disagree with I really enjoyed the Canary part, but yeah. If there was returning characters, which there probably will be, what character or characters would you like to see in Inquisition? Like as party members, not NPCs. Because like Morrigan was in Inquisition, but she wasn't a party member.
Yeah. So for the fourth one, obviously you're going to have Varric back in. I think that's a given.
Yeah, seems to.
Unfortunately, he's okay, but in terms of like actual party members, you know, to be honest with you, I'd rather just have a whole set of new characters.
Yeah,
like
you don't think Dorian's going to be in it because he's a Tevinter?
I like him to be in it, but I'd rather just then have a new character. Like, I think his story's done, and I want them to spend more time kind of building new characters up. I don't really want to see anybody in my party that I've already had in my party.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I definitely think they're going to bring like a few characters back, maybe not as party members, but as NPCs.
I mean, Solus is going to be
obviously he's the main. Yeah. He's going to be the main antagonist. But I definitely think they'll bring back Morrigan. Varric will probably be a party member. I can see Dorian popping in either as an NPC or as a party member. But yeah, I think pretty much they'll probably bring back Liliana as an NPC. Maybe Cassandra, but it depends, because in the DLC for Inquisition, you can choose either Liliana or Cassandra to be the next Divine. So depending on who you choose, they might not appear in the game, or they might do as the Divine of the Chantry. But yeah, I don't know. I would prefer. I do like Morrigan. She's a really good character. So I think she'll definitely turn up. She'll be in the game too much. She'll be in the game as an NPC or a quest giver or a party member. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be like pretty much all brand new. Yeah, as you can see, here behind me, it's quite sunny here in London. The temperature is like 28 degrees. We're all quite getting baked here, so we're not used to this. Like, we're not used to sun, and when it does come out, we fry. Like, the sun is directly in my room, like you can see it there. So yeah, I'm getting a bit warm, but yeah, I mean, like, what's this? Obviously, it's like you said, Solus is going to be the main antagonist. Did you ever play the DLC where you find out who he is?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and you're like, I can't remember, but you like you go into different portals, and like you like there's like slowly there's Q. Oh, is it? And then because I remember I got married to Cullen in that one. So yeah, I remember it. I think I only played it once, and it didn't have a really lasting impression on me, to be honest. I
didn't play it, but I've watched some YouTube videos on it, and you find well, you do find out who Solus is in the actual game, but in this, he's doing his grand plan to resurrect the ancient Elven Empire, which will be pretty interesting. I can see the Tevinter and the Canary teaming up to take down Solus because it's a common enemy, and like if it is being sent into Tevinter, I can see that if you do play as a Canary, you might start off. You might have to be involved in the ongoing Canary Tevinter war. And then obviously with Solus trying to resurrect the old ancient elves and all that, I can see you teaming up to try and take him down.
I think that goes on to see like what else I'd like to see in the game, because I feel like, do you know when you're like you're wandering, you're wandering around, you find a load of codexes, or codices, and you learning about the mythology and like the background of Thedas. You don't really get to see a lot of it. It sounds really cool, like all this, Fenharal and all the elven gods, and then the Maker, but you don't really get a direct interaction with that. So I have to say I'm looking forward to that element of having that, these kind of legends within a world that's already quite fantastical, and being like, and just having that confrontation, or being able to see that would be really interesting, I think, personally, because that's one of my favorite things, as I said in the previous podcast, is like that history and the mythology, and you read, there's so much reading in Dragon Age and a lot of it is almost there, it's like over here, all this stuff that's happened, and then like what you're dealing with is not as interesting as the stuff you're reading about. So that'll be something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping for like multiple endings, because in Inquisition you just sort of get one ending. Do you know what I mean? Even in 2 you get one ending. It doesn't even matter who you side with. If you sided with the elves or the mages, you end up fighting like both the leaders of those factions. So I was like, kind of like, it doesn't really matter who I side with. In the end, it all leads into the confrontation with each. You fight Knight Commander, and you fight the Chief Enchanter, Grand Enchanter. So I kind of hope there's like some variation in the ending depending on your choices throughout that game. Say, like, if I'm speculating it, but if you choose to side with Canary, if you choose to side with Tevinter, it could have like an effect to the actual ending of the game. I want like a replayability of like choosing which the choices you make will affect the outcome.
Do you know what? To be fair, I haven't played a game like that in BioWare since Knights of the Old Republic, where you essentially, it comes down to having a bad ending and a good ending. But like with Dragon Age Origins, you still end up, killing the archdemon. You still end up, stopping that.
There is slight changes, like depending on if you took Morrigan's like proposal, you could end up dying in it, or Alistair could end up dying in the game. It's like small subtle changes.
Yeah, there is small, but there's not like a completely different end. You know what I mean? No, there's not, there's nothing like that. Whereas, with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, they were 2 very different endings. You had one where you're like, sorry for spoilers out there, but you're kind of like the Emperor, you kind of like got the Empire, and then there's another one where it's very Republic.
Yes, but it is pretty much good and bad ending.
Good and bad in ending.
But I would like a choice or some sort of like slight effect that the ending has, because in Inquisition you're just like, gonna kill Corypheus now. No, there's no effect of how it would end. Do you know what I mean? So it just
absolutely. I think also, like, I kind of want, like, I know it's very like dichotomous, or if that's even a word, but to have like, if you're an arsehole and you want to like join Solus, or if you want to be like the big bad, I want to be able to do that. I don't want to have to be like, you're always gonna, with Origins, Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age 3, you always end up kind of killing the big bad and being the hero. Whereas I kind of want to be able to be the antagonist, if that makes sense, like how you were in Knights of the Republic. I mean, I love Knights of the Republic. It's my favorite game of all time. So that's why I make these comparisons, but it's also a BioWare game. And you just don't get that anymore with BioWare games. You don't really get that in Mass Effect either. You always end up killing the big bad and kind of somewhat being the hero. But maybe I don't want to be the hero. And we haven't had that. And I maybe there's an opportunity there to, if you are, it's somewhat like with Dragon Age, you can be a complete arsehole, but you're still going to be the hero at the end of the day, so it really doesn't matter. You're still the champion, you're still the hero for Aldo, and you're still the goodie. And I don't want to be the goodie sometimes. Does that?
I agree with that. With Star Wars, it's always like there's always the light and dark side, so I kind of see why they did that sort of ending, that you had two different choices. With Shepard, it was a bit more difficult you couldn't really side with the bad guy because the bad guy had genocidal so you couldn't really to do that. And so I can understand. And also with Origins, you couldn't side with the archdemon, because they're gonna they're not there to make alliances or you're going to take over or anything like that. They're there to wipe you out. Inquis 2 again, it doesn't matter who you side with. It doesn't matter. Inquisition again, there's not much variation in that. I don't think anyone could die in that as well, in your party members. I know party members could leave. I think they could leave, but none of them can be like killed or anything in the ending battle. It's not like Dragon Mass Effect 2. Are you looking at something?
No, I'm thinking.
Okay, you're just not looking away like you're uninterested.
I'm thinking. This is my thinking phase. No, I was thinking, because you can kill Anders in Dragon Age 2, but you can't. You can't do that in Dragon Age 3.
I remember when I first played Dragon Age 2, I didn't kill him. And then in the second one, when I second playthrough, I was like, I'm going to kill this guy. Fuck him. And I did it.
Oh, God.
I killed him. And then I like the way the camera zooms into his face, like when he's dying, to make it look like you did a really bad thing. I'm like, no, fuck this guy. Why is he so, like, it's not a good thing that what he's done. He's just, he just blew up like the Chantry and the Grand Cleric, who was actually really nice to him. But he's like, I've got to start a war. Oh, God, there you go.
I think the Glen Cleric was a victim of her own kind of indifference. I think that was the problem. She was kind of like, yeah, we could do that, but I'd rather just not do anything. And I think like Anders is definitely a character that wanted to take action. And that's the whole point.
She had to be in the middle. She couldn't take one side up over another. That's not her whole point. The whole point of her is balance. But she couldn't just choose one or the other. That's when Andrew's like, well, I've taken away that choice. And she's sitting on the fence. I'm just going to blow her up. I was like, you really have to. Can you just blow up the building without her in it? I don't know, just to start this war. And then afterwards, I was like, I'm going to kill this guy. Just stab him in the back and dies. Because he still blows up. There's a side mission where you go around and help him, but you don't know what you're helping him for. But if you don't do that, he still ends up blowing it up. So it didn't really feel like I had to help him. He does what he does. But yes, how this I suppose that's how you have to get the narrative moving, because that was the whole purpose of Dragon Age 2, was that build up to the Mage Rebellion. Well, yeah, I mean, like this Dragon Age 4 seems like it's going to be pretty big, and with different factions and stuff, it should be able to give you a choice of how the ending's going to play out, what's going to happen in it, especially because you got the Canary fighting the Tevinter, and then you probably have Tevinter and fighting Solus, and Solus fighting everyone basically. So I would kind of like something, but if they don't do that, then fair enough. I still probably enjoy the game, but because it's a BioWare game, I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, I didn't enjoy their last one, which was Andromeda, which I feel like
the less spoken about that game, the better.
He tried to do an Inquisition where it was all open world or big zones. And I was just like, oh god, the characters were so unmemorable.
The thing is, the issue with BioWare is that I feel like they take on the criticisms of the last game. So Dragon Age, Mass Effect 3 was seen as very linear and like small bit, like you just go to one place, do the mission, and then come back.
It was pretty much like a shooting gallery. It was like Call of Duty or something.
Yeah, so I feel like BioWare, they really do listen to the criticisms and then they try to address them, but then they go too far one way or too far the other way, whereas they don't find that balance anymore. So it's like Dragon Age 2 was like, oh, it's really linear because you can't really explore anything. It's just a city. So they're like, here, have all this. And it was a bit too much. Yeah, and it was a bit like too much as well. And I'm not really into, as we've established before, neither of us are into open world, so it can just feel a bit like a drag. But hopefully, I'm hoping that they've kind of found a really good balance between, because it's not.
I feel like BioWare is in a tricky situation because they can't afford to have another disappointing game. Because before they, as I say, peak Golden Age BioWare was kind of like when they were churning out hit after hit, like Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, Mass Effect, Dragon Age. That was peak, and then now they've kind of like gone down a bit. I mean, Mass Effect 3 was kind of disappointing. Then they did Andromeda, which is
even more disappointing.
Then Inquisition was fairly good, but not as great. Then they did and then they did what was that one? Anthem, which was absolute shit.
I didn't even play it.
So that wasn't even an RPG, but they kind of, I feel like they have to sort of get it right with this game. That's why they're bringing back Mass Effect 4 because they need a hit, they need a banger. Because their overlords are EA, and EA are not shy about shutting down studios if they don't do well.
But also that's EA is part of the problem as well, isn't it? That's why.
Well, EA tries to they will push what they want on their developers. So whatever is popular or makes them money, they will push on to their developers. It's kind of like they forced all their developers to use the Frostbite engine, which is the engine that uses to run FIFA, and it doesn't really work with an RPG mechanics. So that's why sometimes it seems like the game is a bit clunky because that engine doesn't really suit that particular game. But we'll see, man. We'll wait and see. But is there anything else you want to discuss about Mass Effect Dragon Age 4?
I was going to ask you, what do you want in terms of, we've spoken a lot about like characters, narrative, and like environments, but we haven't spoken about like battle, like, you know, the kind of gameplay aspect of it. And I was wondering, because I was a bit disappointed with Inquisition in terms of it was very like button smash. It was like I could just press AA or, you know, BB over and over again and just keep hitting them. And I kind of missed the Dragon Age Origins where it was a bit slower, but you could really go through different.
To be honest, I don't think they're going to change that. They're going to keep that. It's really like, because they're all about more action now. It's not going to be like how they used to be, where it's more turn-based or real-time turn-based. That's gone now. It's all fast. You got to have like high-octane battles, the battle system in it. So I don't think they're going to keep that.
But what do you want?
What would I want? I don't know. It's kind of like I'm going to refer to the Witcher combat system, but it's kind of difficult to implement that whilst you've got party members. So it's kind of tricky to do that. I mean, because Mass Effect, it just boiled down to being a shooter in the end of the day, and which I kind of didn't like. So I never was into Mass Effect for its gameplay mechanics in terms of shooting. Mass Effect 1's shooting was terrible, but I didn't bother me because that's what I wasn't there for. I was there for the story and the world building and the characters. So I would kind of like a happy in between, but I don't think I'm going to get that. I think it's going to be more the same, like what in Inquisition, where it's people like that. So I think that's what they're going to keep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for better or for worse. I mean, I didn't mind it. I thought it's pretty good, but yeah, I mean, like the days of like tactical
turn-based
and real time battle that's gone now. It's that's consigned to the past. It's got to be quick, fast paced, and everything's got to be cinematic, you know, like the cutscenes are cinematic. It's got to be action, it's got to be explosion, it's got to be big scale, which Dragon Age Origins had that moments, but it wasn't all about that. It wasn't all about this spectacle. So yeah, it's going to be, it seems like Mass Effect's become their sort of flagship game now. So it's going to be definitely more sort of the sort of spectacle over quality, I think. But I mean, I'll be happy if they have one thing BioWare never let me down on is characters. I think they have really good characters. Even I think like Inquisition had the weakest characters. Me personally, I think that. I didn't like Blackwall. I thought he was shit. Barely used him. I didn't like Sarah. I didn't like the mage from Orlais. I can't remember.
Vivian.
Vivian, didn't like her.
And she had a British accent, which didn't make any sense.
I was like, oh, she's British, but she's from Orlais, but didn't like her. And Solus I liked. Cassandra I kind of liked. She grew on me. And
Iron Ball?
Oh, Iron Ball was good.
I liked Iron Ball.
Yeah, he was funny. But other than that, who was the one who was like he was inhabited by a dead spirit?
Cole.
I thought he was pretty good. Even though I probably knew him the least out of everyone. So, but I kind of hope they sort of flesh out the characters a bit more and have more for them to like more of the side story sort of flow into the main game. But who knows, man? Like I'm really hoping that they sort of make their romances a bit more better. You know what I mean? I wouldn't mind that more if you're on a romance with a particular character, you can have more unique scenes and missions and stuff with them in particular. So I really like BioWare's known for having character romances in it. And I think like Origins and I actually think 2 had probably the best romance, not options, but romance moments in the game. I do remember like the characters will like actually like react to if you're in a romance with them, if you're in danger, or if something's happened to you. Then they did in say like Inquisition, which is a shame.
Yeah,
but yeah, I kind of like good characters, strong gameplay, a compelling story, which I think they'll probably get because it's set into winter, so it's got to have like intriguing. It's going to be like sort of like political machinations and motivations and stuff like that. You might have to assassinate some like Tevinter Magisters and stuff like that. So who knows, man? It's a good opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it, man. I think it'll be a better story than it was in Inquisition, where you sort of flutter between Orlais and Ferelden, which I kind of prefer. They focus more on being in Orlais than Ferelden. Orlais is something new, and it's very much like they're all scheming and stuff like that behind people's back. I thought the best moments was in Orlais than it was in Ferelden.
No, I agree. Yeah. I much preferred the Orlais levels than I did the Ferelden levels. And I
love Ferelden. I love it. You know, it's based on old England. But I kind of was like, I'm interested to see how things go in Orlais. It's different. It's a different environment, a different system, a different culture to how it is in Ferelden. The way they do things differently compared to Ferelden. which I'm really looking forward to how things are in Tevinter. Of course, we've heard so much about Tevinter. I'm really looking forward to actually experiencing it in the game and how it plays out there, because Tevinter's old, and I think they were the ones who subjugated the elves, so that's going to play into it as well. So it'll be interesting.
I'm interested to see the environments. I'm gonna I don't mean graphics, how graphics are really good. I like how does Tevinter look different to Ferelden and Orlais, because it's almost like Orlais was more kind of advanced than Ferelden, because Ferelden was like kind of set in the medieval times, where kind of Orlais was like 17th, 18th century. It was like a few hundred years ahead.
They were quite ahead, even in the way they dress and stuff. I was like, this looks quite like, if I were to set a period, it would be like the Napoleonic period.
Exactly.
Like we look like they're stuck in the Dark Ages. Like, do you know what I mean? They're loincloths and and leather like armor. And then you go in the Inquisition, they seem like they're more up to date. They look like they're from Napoleon's era.
So the Tevinter might even be further than that, because it could be. I mean, I think it's going to be based not on Roman, but definitely Byzantium. Byzantium. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of work that. It's going to be one of my favorite things to kind of explore. Okay.
Anything else you want to say, or should we wrap it up there?
I think, looking forward to it. I think we've been quite negative in some aspects, but I think if we just let them get on with it, give them the time they need to do it, and not have they've had crazy deadlines. Then
2014 since the last game was released, so that's nearly like 7 years, man. That's a long time.
8 years now.
8 years. Damn. So it's not. How long has it been in development for? About.
I don't think it's been very long.
2 years, maybe 3.
2 or 3 years.
So it's been a while, man. I think I'm looking forward to jumping back into that
world.
So come on, BioWare. I'm kind of glad that they're taking their time with it. But I think a lot rests on this game and with Mass Effect 4 as well.
Oh gosh, I hope that's another podcast, but I've got some real reservations for that. But that's a different one.
Where could people find you? What is your social medias? Have you got anything you want to shout out?
So my Instagram is private, but I'm available on Twitter, which is @frankiwebb with no E and WEBB.
Okay. Well, thanks for filling in for Mr. Roz. I'm sure he'll be back on the next podcast. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're available on most podcast platforms: Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Play or some. There's a Google Play, something like that. We're available on most. But so thanks for listening. We'll see you again in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.